Over the past month, there have been some big updates in Japan, and I have highlighted the most important changes that you need to know about. But unlike my recent Japan update videos, the majority of these recent changes have been good news. News like the robot restaurant coming back after being closed for years, speculation that Airbnb will restore old Japanese houses for tourists to stay in, and much needed trash cans making their return after decades of being banned are just a few of these great changes that I am happy to share with you today. So without further delay, let's get right into Japan's newest updates. But before we get started, I have some even more great news to share with you. I am now offering my professional services to help plan your perfect trip to Japan with my newly established business, Hidden Japan Journeys. After living in Tokyo for years, I have learned dozens of tips and tricks to navigate Japan with ease, and found hundreds of hidden things in Tokyo I haven't even mentioned on my channel yet. With this extensive knowledge, I can help personally create the perfect travel itinerary catered just for you. Not only that, but I also provide one-on-one phone consultations to help answer any personal questions or concerns you might have as you plan your trip to Japan. With these two effective services, I can help make your Japan planning as effortless and as easy as possible. If you're interested, don't hesitate to contact me at my business email right here, or check out my website in the description below. Alright, let's get back to the updates. Some of the most interesting news to hit the streets is Airbnb trying to restore empty Japanese homes for tourists. It is no secret that Japan is suffering from a rapid population decline as the country struggles with one of the lowest birth rates in the world. And because of this depopulation problem, it is also no surprise that there are millions of homes just sitting and rotting away simply because there are just not enough residents anymore. Well, Airbnb sees these empty homes as a unique opportunity and has begun talks with local governments and businesses to get some of the best homes restored. Their hopes with these abandoned homes is to renovate and open them up for tourists, offering a more intimate way to experience Japan's culture and history. Now, this is some pretty interesting news and should be an exciting prospect for tourists. In my opinion, one of the best ways to experience Japan's culture and lifestyle is by experiencing it firsthand. While there is absolutely nothing wrong with staying in a hotel, I think staying in a Japanese home during your vacation adds another exciting layer to your experience, because staying in a local home just further enhances your understanding of what it is like living here. And for anyone that might be interested in coming back here for a job, this would be the perfect opportunity to get a little taste of what it would be like if you decided to make that big decision. I will be closely monitoring this news and let you know if there are any official updates in the near future. Speaking of bringing things back to life, I have some really exciting news to share that I am sure you will be happy to hear about. After years of being closed, the robot restaurant has made its long-awaited comeback. Well, for the most part, as the recent opening hasn't been exactly normal. Let me explain. For anyone that might not know, the robot restaurant, which was known for its absurdly wild yet highly entertaining performances by using massive robots in a very small space, abruptly closed in 2020 when the pandemic made its unwelcome appearance. But then in May of 2023, they made a surprise reopening, offering the same exciting robots and energetic actors like before. These are some of the clips that I took back during its first official return debut back in May of 2023. And although I didn't know it at the time, this first public showing would be the robot restaurant's last show ever. At least for the original show. Due to mechanical issues with the robots and dangers with the smaller venue they were performing in, they abruptly closed the show literally the next day after I filmed all of this footage. But don't worry, after a few months of readjusting, they finally reopened the show under a new name known as the Samurai Restaurant. The Samurai Restaurant show is very similar to its predecessor, having the same over-the-top energy and props just like before. However, one of the biggest differences I noticed with the new show compared to the old one is that there are much fewer robots. But that doesn't really surprise me, seeing as the whole reason they shut down the restaurant the second time was because of mechanical issues and potential dangers with the cramped stage. But overall, the performance is still definitely worth a visit, and I recommend going at least once if you want to experience the new and reimagined robot restaurant. If you're interested in booking some of these tickets for yourself, I provided a link in the description below. And don't worry, I'm not affiliated with this company in any way, I just want to help you out. Also, let's keep our fingers crossed so we can hope that the show will stay open for a long time so that you can see it for yourself. It looks like trash cans are finally making a comeback. For any first-timers coming to Japan, this might seem like a weird piece of good news. But for all you Japan veterans out there, you know exactly how big of a deal this really is. Back in 1995, an infamous poison gas attack in Tokyo scared the Japanese government into removing all trash cans from public areas. And to Japan's credit, they have done a remarkable job keeping their streets clean despite having no real place to throw away their trash. But now, almost 3 decades later, it seems the government is finally realizing that this type of policy is just no longer feasible. In the 30 years since that fateful decision, Japan's tourism industry has skyrocketed to astronomical proportions with no real signs of slowing down. And with this massive surge of tourists, it is becoming almost impossible to manage the very few trash cans that are scattered throughout Japan's major cities. Now, if you wander into any major area in Tokyo, you'll see that most of the trash cans are at capacity, if not absolutely flowing over and just making a mess of the place. So in light of this recent good news, we'll hopefully see a lot more trash cans in the major cities of Japan so you don't have to carry your trash for hours anymore, and hopefully see these streets become a lot cleaner. Not only are trash cans finally getting a closer look, but it seems like a recent taxi issue will be getting addressed soon as well. It appears Japan's government is cracking down on illegal taxis, which have become a growing problem recently. In my previous videos, I have extensively covered the labor shortage that is plaguing the entire hospitality sector, to include the taxi industry as well. And with the shrinking population, it is only getting harder and harder to replace taxi fleets with legitimate employers. Because of the service gap, illegal taxi drivers have realized the opportunity and are now trying to capitalize on it. While you might think illegal taxis are relatively harmless, there are actually many reasons why they are very dangerous and why you should steer clear of them. For one, unauthorized taxi drivers might not have any insurance to cover you in the event of an accident. While real taxi companies are required by law to have some type of medical insurance to cover their drivers and passengers, this is not the case with independent drivers, since there is no company mandating them to do so. This means if you get in an accident with an illegal taxi, you could still be forced to pay your own medical bills, especially if the driver does not have sufficient coverage. Another risk with these illegal taxis is they could extort you for a much higher fee than a regular taxi. Most Japanese taxis are required to run their fare meter, and their rates are publicly available so customers know exactly how much they should expect to pay. With illegal taxis, however, they can set their prices to whatever they want and could trick potential customers with a fake price up front. Then they could change the price upon arrival, and there would be no recourse to fight the charge without making a big scene, which is the last thing you want to do on a vacation. To combat this, recently airport staff have been handing out flyers to incoming tourists to educate and warn them against the differences between legal and illegal drivers. The flyers point out the difference between the two types of taxis, noting that legal taxis will have a green license plate, whereas illegal taxis will have the regular white license plate. Along with this, it looks like the government is finally easing up on their strict taxi policies, allowing the once banned Uber app to operate in Japan. Well, at least in a limited capacity for now. But while the Japanese government is cracking down on these illegal drivers, they are still out there and could pose a major risk. So make sure you are aware of the telltale license plate warnings so you can keep yourself out of trouble. Duty-free goods, otherwise known as tax-free goods, will likely go through some important changes in the near future. Commonly used throughout the world, Japan's tax-free policy is catered specifically to tourists so they can give them a tax break and encourage them to buy more souvenirs while they're visiting the country. But in order to purchase these tax-free goods, tourists must be able to provide that they are a visitor based on their passport stamp and have to find the stores with the specifically marked signs that say tax-free at the entrance. However, ever since Japan went fully digital to track their tax-free sales, they realized that there are a lot of tourists taking advantage and abusing this tax-free benefit. Instead of leaving the country with their tax-free goods like they are supposed to, certain tourists are instead reselling the goods in the country and flipping them for a profit since they don't have to pay for the taxes. Because of this, Japan's government is planning on revising their tax-free policy, charging the tax for tourists up front and refunding the tax costs when tourists are leaving Japan. And while this this is a minor extra step for tourists and a little annoying, hopefully it will put an end to all those people who are trying to take advantage and abuse the system. But unfortunately, if you are still not happy with this potential change, you're just gonna have to blame it on those people that took advantage of the system. Aside from the last update, there is plenty of great news going around, and I couldn't be more happy for everyone that's traveling to Japan. So let's just hope for plenty more updates like this and see if we can ring in the new year with only more good news. If you want me to help plan your perfect trip to Japan or talk with me one-on-one, contact me for my travel planning and consulting services. If you found this video useful, give it a like, subscribe for more content about Japan, and check my affiliate links in the description below for when you plan your next trip to Japan. Alright, that's gonna do it, and until next time, I'll see you then.